Good evening. We have breaking news. Internet provocateur and raving lunatic Alex Jones has been banned from YouTube, Facebook, and Apple within a 24-hour period. More details as they come in. So if you're at all familiar with alternative media, you're probably aware of Alex Jones and his recent purge from most social media platforms. It is a double-edged sword, with people both praising and condemning the action on either side. First, we should probably delve into why he was being banned in the first place. A lot of people seem to be under the impression that Alex Jones and his show InfoWars were targeted due to his penchant for fake news, but the official statements cite hate speech instead. So what exactly did Alex say?
They'd let Mueller rape kids in front of people, which he did. Sandy Hook, it's got inside job written all of. Facebook told us, you use the word tranny, you're banned. Muhammad and Allah! Allah Akbar! We're going to stab your daughter at the mall. We're going to stab your wife, your son. We're going to stab you with a butcher knife. And then the police chief's going to get up and say, we love our Somalis. We love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so sweet.
Well, we all know about the Sandy Hook denial and Pizzagate, but that's not hate speech. It's just an ill-conceived conspiracy theory. For it to be hate speech, it must be targeted at a protected class like race or creed. You can't try and claim that he's inciting violence towards the families of Sandy Hook victims. Well, I mean, you could, but it's an empty claim because he's never outright instructed anyone to do anything. Demonizing someone isn't the same as an incitement. I can call my neighbor a degenerate scumbag, but if you go out and murder him on my behalf, that's on you, not me. Specific instructions were never given, or even implied. Allegedly, Alex also threatened Robert Mueller. But if you watch the original video, it's a completely fictional Wild West shootout scenario, and he specifically said it's a metaphor for taking him out politically. It's not a real or credible threat by any means. Now, his comments on Muslims? Yeah, some of those could probably be construed as hate speech, but it's pretty vague where the line between criticism of religion and bigotry lies. And to be fair, there are a great many YouTube channels that are making a living on bashing and dehumanizing Muslims, and none of them are under the ban hammer right now. And to confound the situation more, there is no First Amendment exception to hate speech. Even the Supreme Court has ruled that hate speech is covered. So although he's ethically wrong, he is not legally guilty of anything. So basically, Alex Jones is getting banned for saying some unsavory shit about people. At least, that's the official narrative anyway. If what he's doing is slanderous, go ahead and bring him to civil court. But I don't like the idea of a corporation getting involved in who can say what. Another breaking development. Alex Jones has just been banned from Spotify, Stitcher, and Pinterest. We will inform you of any updates. So it started with him getting banned by Apple, and then Facebook, and subsequently YouTube shortly after. I don't agree with Alex. I don't like the propagation of false information, but I also don't like censorship. Several news outlets have said that his words inflict harm. How so? Do the words jump out of the screen and punch your fucking teeth out? I've never heard of anyone getting a fatal wound from hearing an idea. Words don't cause any harm themselves. Words can inspire others to action, but those actions are 100% their liability unless you can prove a legitimate incitement took place. Like when a mob boss orders a hit, that's clearly incitement. When the Ayatollah calls for the genocide of the Jews, that's incitement. Implying that people you don't like are bad isn't incitement. Even accusing them of horrible things that they didn't do isn't incitement. Slander, sure, but not incitement. And now the common argument I hear is that these companies have a right to set policies and reject whomever they please. And I mean, that's true, thanks to the fact that the Supreme Court always holds the interests of big business above the people. But I'm not arguing whether or not they had the right to do it. I'm arguing whether or not it was the right thing to do. As for Alex Jones, you have to go visit his channel of your own volition in order to see it. I've never once had an Alex Jones video come up on my suggestion feed, unless it was someone mocking an Alex Jones video, and I have to seek it out myself if I want that dose of insanity. So who cares if a crazy person is shouting nonsense to an audience that has chosen to hear it? And therein lies the problem. Other people want to control what you are allowed to hear and see. Instead of allowing people to use their own discernment skills, they want to preemptively silence opinions that they find unacceptable. But who ultimately is the arbiter of this acceptability? And do they actually believe it's effective? Like now that Alex Jones is off YouTube, all the nutjobs are suddenly going to become sane? Another Alex Jones news update. YouPorn, LinkedIn, and MailChimp have also removed Alex Jones from their platforms. Alex Jones claims that literal pot-bellied goblins are to blame. The nature of being banned by multiple platforms within such a short time frame only makes it look like a coordinated attack on InfoWars. Alex and his cronies were making claims that the powers that be were pushing to get him banned for more than 5 months, and now they have fulfilled his prophecy in the eyes of his tinfoil hat-wearing audience. And he's already got sock accounts uploading his content to YouTube. So way to go! You didn't get rid of him in any fucking capacity, you just gave him more fame. Because there is a legitimate, non-fallacious, slippery slope argument to be made here. The government hasn't the right to impede our freedom of speech, but now we're handing the keys over to corporations who can do it for them. It's like how Russia claimed people were allowed to protest during the Sochi Olympics, but only in designated free speech zones, which happen to be cages out in the middle of nowhere. It's just a way to give the illusion of free speech while limiting what you can say and hear. What good is my free speech if you're forced into a closet and you can't hear me speak? It effectively renders your freedom of speech impotent if you haven't a legitimate platform to speak on. Now we're at the point where social media has a de facto monopoly on the dissemination of information. According to Pew Research, 62% of adults in the United States get their news entirely from social media. And that number has only been steadily climbing. Letting them control narratives is a dangerous precedent to set. In this case, nobody cares because it's a polarizing figure like Alex Jones. But what about when it happens to someone with a more ambiguous point of view? This just in, Alex Jones has now been banned from Roblox, RuneScape, and Pokemon Go. FarmersOnly.com and eBay have also denied him access until further notice. Here's an article on a website I've never heard of called Above the Law that portrays the average dipshit view of this whole fiasco. Be warned, this article is so much dishonest tripe.
In a message posted on Twitter Monday, Mr. Jones said, "The censorship of InfoWars just vindicates everything we've been saying. Now who will stand against tyranny and who will stand for free speech? We're all Alex Jones now." He rallied against the tech companies on his live show on Monday, which was streamed on the InfoWars website, saying their moves were part of a leftist agenda in advance of the midterm elections. "I told you this was coming," he said to viewers. My main takeaway from that paragraph is, Alex Jones still has a website. I've been listening to these First Amendment extremists for 24 hours, and they've been telling me that banning Alex Jones is on the road to tyrannical censorship. And now I find out that Jones is still able to communicate his ideas without fear of police or military reprisal? Just what kind of pre-Enlightenment Inquisition-based regime are we running here?
I don't think you understand what freedom is. Impeding your freedom of speech isn't only throwing you in jail. If someone can restrict you or punish you, then you weren't truly free to do it in the first place. By that standard, I'm free to murder people so long as I'm okay with facing the consequences. That is not the common understanding of freedom. And although it's true that the First Amendment prohibits the government from making any laws to prohibit you, legal precedence extends it to protecting your right to do it as well, like workplace laws that prevent a corporation from restricting your ability to disclose salary with coworkers or organize a union. People have been using the argument that a private company can do as they please in regard to who can use their platform. It's like having a house and people can shout from your rooftop. If someone says something that you feel reflects badly on you, it's your right to remove them from your rooftop. It is yours after all. And to a certain extent I agree. If YouTube doesn't want porn or snuff on their website, that's reasonable. I would reluctantly relinquish some freedom for them to do that. But words should always be protected. Again, so long as it's not an order to lawless action or anything else illegal. And in my opinion, the government should extend your freedom of speech to any platform that borderlines on being a public utility. It's another double-edged sword, because either we let corporations control what we hear, or we let the government put its nose in our businesses. There is no easy solution that's going to make everyone happy. But this certainly isn't the first time the government has stepped in and asserted individual rights over a business, declaring who can and cannot be refused service and why. In my opinion, these platforms shouldn't even get involved in the first place. They should provide a platform to say things on, not curate what is acceptable to say. The terms of service should just be create and watch at your own risk. And in the end, they are doing it because of pressure from advertisers and a vocal minority of whiny Twitter users, so we're basically letting an outrage mob take control of our social media.
Let me test these old free speech waters and see if it's still even a thing. Donald Trump is a white supremacist, and the people who voted for him are either racist or comfortable enough with racism to make the distinction meaningless. Looks out windows, checks for helicopters. Okay, that was political speech. The most protected kind of speech. Let's try it with a deeply unpopular opinion. En Vogue was a better group than Destiny's Child and TLC combined. Cindy Herron was every bit as talented and beautiful as Beyoncé, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, you need to get the hell up off my lawn. Ducks.
I hope that was a lame attempt at humor, because that is so far beyond the pale of dishonest otherwise. First of all, the author is an absolute nobody working for an obscure website no one has ever heard of, so of course nobody's gonna give a shit what she says. Could have gone on an anti-Semitic rant. Nobody would have heard of it, so nobody would bother censoring her. She writes it as if she actually expects that. As soon as you type a sentence, they'll burst down your doors. Because apparently, if it's not a complete authoritarian dystopia in this very moment, that means there's no problem at all or ever will be. Solid logic. Secondly, she's saying things that are generally agreeable. Mainstream media says Donald Trump is a racist. You're not even deviating from the official narrative. Try saying something that is actually controversial, especially anything that doesn't feed into one of the mainstream narratives.
It doesn't look like free speech is under attack. Instead, it looks like a few tech platforms decided they would no longer let Alex Jones manipulate their services to spread lies and misinformation. This isn't the government burning subversive content. This is the bartender saying, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
You say free speech isn't under attack. Why? Because helicopters didn't come get you? That's your metric? Did you hear that H3H3 got a live stream taken down by YouTube just for talking about Alex Jones? Of course, YouTube claims it was an accident after the fact. And TJ Kirk was recently banned from Twitter for making a joke about the racist tweets of Sarah Jeong. She posts legitimate hate speech and it's fine. TJ Kirk spoofs her tweet, clearly in jest, and gets banned. And that's the problem. There is no objective arbiter. So it's in everyone's best interest to be able to say whatever the fuck they want, lest your opinion on Trump or Beyonce becomes the hate speech. You've put it all in the hands of a corporation with no liability and a rotating leadership that can change values overnight.
Normally, this is where I would rail against the free speech establishment for continuing to support a liar and racist. But aside from Jones's lawyer, most First Amendment heroes are on board with the deplatforming of Alex Jones. I'll take this post by Pope Hat as indicative of where the Overton window is centered on this.
She claims that the majority of First Amendment heroes are on board with deplatforming, and then cites one guy I've never heard of. Either she is wrong about who the majority supports, or she's confused about what side of the First Amendment these supposed heroes are on. And now jump forward into the article a bit, she compares this to the exile of Milo Yiannopoulos, and this is her hot take.
What's the difference between the two? What changed between 2016 when Milo was banned and today? From where I sit, Milo's shtick was mainly focused on denigrating black people and other minorities. Alex Jones made the mistake of going after white people who lost their white children. The violence suggested by Milo was always supposed to be directed towards racial minorities. The violence suggested by Jones occasionally catches white people trying to enjoy a slice of pizza. Alex Jones is an active threat to democracy. Milo is just trying to ethnically cleanse our democracy.
Wow, she made it a race thing. Even though Facebook themselves said that it was not about Sandy Hook or Pizzagate, and that it was specifically because of disparaging and dehumanizing comments he made about Muslims and transsexuals. So her interpretation of motives is about as far off base from reality as anything Alex Jones has said. And Alex Jones is an active threat to democracy? Give me a break. Again, here's another doofus that thinks that people aren't able to exercise any discernment skills, and they need some central authority to filter what they are exposed to. There aren't enough Alex Jones nutbars to sway an election. He is not a credible threat to democracy. But this is where we're at. People are getting banned from social media, which holds all the cards when it comes to the information the majority of people get, and this tightening of the ideological grip is cheered by useful idiots.
I'm getting another live update. It seems Alex Jones has been banned from planet Earth. He is currently being escorted by Trump's Space Force to the moon, where he will spend the rest of his days. Now to Howie Feltersnatch with the sports.